post-season scouting. We are out and about today. Well, not really. We're sitting in the lab making a video, making a podcast. So today we are going to talk about post-season scouting because the season literally just ended Sunday. 9 or 10 more months to wait. Trying to get that spark back to go for next year and go all out. So we'll see how that works out. Here we go. Just some of the things that I look for when I go out post-season scouting, which is absolutely my favorite type of year. That's my favorite time of the year. Everybody says their favorite time of the year is the rut. Well, I can say that too, but honestly, the weather is, that type of weather is just so great to hunt out of, especially like from October on. It's like you're not sweating and you're not freezing cold. So it's just my favorite time of the year. You know what I mean? So I'm talking about postseason scouting. You got to remember, you're going about, I'm telling you information that I've learned over the years myself. It's not going to work for everybody, but it's just something to keep in the back of your mind. And if you do watch my content or listen to this podcast, which you obviously are, you'll say, oh, I remember Rob saying that. And that does make sense now. So that's all I'm looking for. People to put little clues together and at certain types of the year and learn something and be educated by it. So that's it, man. Saying my way is the best way to do things. I'm not ever going to say to you, you need to do this or you need to do that. If I do, I'm probably going to say something like, you need to go out and hunting is what you do. You're not going to kill one on the couch. You need to get out in the water. You got to get your mind straight. And you're not going to catch one on the couch. I can sit on a couch and play PlayStation and catch one or kill one, but it's just not the same. So you're probably, if you hear me say something like you probably do. You probably do. Maybe a gear thing or just you need to get your ass outside. That's about it. Postseason scouting. Postseason scouting might be the most valuable information you can collect for next year. But it can completely mislead you if you don't understand timing of the woods. Right now is not about chasing fresh sign. It's good because you can use that fresh sign for next year. And you know what? They were here last year at this time of year. So it's all timing. So it's honestly about understanding when it was made, why it was made, and what conditions caused that to be made in that certain area. It's all timing, man. Food, cover, and when is the right time to be in that area. I'm not a master. I am not an expert, nor do I want to be ever a master or expert at anything, because that's when you stop learning. Everything I talk about comes from my own experiences, what I've seen work, what I've seen fail, and what the woods have taught me. Absolutely no wrong or right way to do this. Deer don't read the internet. And I'm here to help you ask better questions, not hand you the answers. I can hand you answers that I've answered for myself, but that answer might be different from where you're at or where you hunt at. I could just give you ideas to pick from to try. Late season for these deer is all about survival. Calories and cover matter more than anything else. When I'm out postseason scouting, what I'm looking for is, or where I start at the food sources, the main food sources. And the main food sources would be ag, most people ag, or like some kind of heavy browse or something where, giant woods or big woods where they don't have much else to eat. No ag involved, crops, whatever. But I started the food source, and then I asked why that food source was still available and safe when others weren't. And that brings me into food in January is definitely most likely, well, I can't say definitely, I don't want to say definitely, is most likely not going to be the food that they're going to be eating in October, September, October, early season, or even in late summer. I always, like I said, check that main food source, and then I try to work back and look food source, travel corridors, and bedding. So work backward from food to see how the deer traveled, and then what I do is I look beyond trails and focus on edges, cover, and escape routes. That's like so huge, especially on public, which because so pressured. It's public land is just so pressured. Then you're getting into the, travel routes are going to be a safe places that a deer feels safe traveling to and from bedding or food during daylight hours, because for some reason they know we can't see them. It's crazy. And after nighttime, like, you'll go into these wide open woods in some areas and find these giant rubs and rub lines and scrapes and this and that, and I call that fool's gold. And excuse me, you can't be fooled by this kind of stuff. Most pressured deer, and I hate pressure educated deer, especially on a public property where everybody has access to it, they're going to learn them routes to get around hunters, to get around certain things that they don't like during the daylight hours to get to where they want to go, destination spots. Because everywhere a deer wants to go is, I consider, a destination spot, which could be a bedding area or a food area, or where to eat. In between is a travel route. On the other each end is a destination spot. And actually, to be honest with you, John Eberhart gave me that idea of that, and it just made sense, and it really does. And honestly, on public, if you're going out, and I'm not talking wide open areas and stuff like that, I'm talking, pretty thick edges and transitions, a little bit of real thick funnels, stuff like that. And I'm talking flat country, flat country stuff. I hunt 99% flat country. Late season travel routes show where the deer are really felt the safest during late season. You gotta remember that, especially when they were under pressure. Really, you can put them two things together. You gotta separate yourself from the wide open spots and think about, like, if I myself was being hunted by 5 guys, where would I not go in that area? Because I knew I'm putting myself out there. And, a lot of well pressure educated bucks think this way. All right, let's get into real bedding areas. And listen, man, there is so many different bedding theories, bedding ideas, bedding tactics, bedding this, bedding that. And I am a bedding guy. I do like to hunt close to bedding because it always have just made more sense to me. Where does deer spend the majority of their daylight hours in? And that's bedding. And not every bed you find is going to matter. A lot of them are going to be shit. Excuse my language. It's good. They're going to be, you got to walk right by them. Just like a rub or a scrape. It's just not in the right area. Especially, find a bed, look up, look around. Would I feel safe in this area during daylight hours? And that's a thing you got to learn. And you got to learn the hunters how they're using that area. And a certain bed might be in a certain place during pressured situations that gives that that deer an advantage of actually monitoring hunters coming in and out of the woods. So that needs to be considered too. Not every bed matters. A true bedding area usually provides wind advantage, visual advantage out in front of them. The wind will come over their back somehow, either crossways or this way or right across them somehow or another. But they always seem to want to look in front of them to some kind of an open area, even if they're 10, 15 yards, 20 yards into a thicket, they're still looking out into something open where they can monitor. But there isn't many beds without a back door. Most of them are going to have some kind of back door. Get the hell out exit strategy. Excuse my language, hell. I'll tell you right now, in my opinion, if a bed or a bedding area does not, at least for bucks, does not offer 2 out of 3 advantages, they're not gonna bed there. They must be like bedding air for a couple hours and moved on, and that's like no wind or no visual or escape routes. I even to be honest with you, I think they need all 3. I hear a lot of guys talking about like Dan Infalt. I've heard him talk about like hearing advantage. I don't know, and I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't hunt a ton of marsh, but I do hunt marsh. But usually, if they don't have hunting a marsh, usually a lot of these deer, if they're not having some sort of wind sight advantage, they're way out. They are going way, way out where they know nobody goes on them little tiny islands and stuff like that. And I don't think that's so much of a hearing advantage more than just getting the hell out of Dodge, where a lot of the pressure is. Deciphering and dating the time, the sign that you find in postseason is, I think, very important. A lot of it, guys overthink, and I think that you can take it and decipher certain times it was made just by looking at it. Like, all right, if there's like 900 rubs in this little kind of a thicket outside of it, like on all these downwind sides of it, you probably can figure out, like, there must be some does bedding in there during the rut. So you know what? I'm going to mark a few trees and hunt this next year during the rut when I have a downwind advantage of that. Now, if the does are in there that next year, usually don't switch up too much, but if there's a steady food source, especially in ag country, them does are going to be in there next year most likely, or somewhere around there where you can go in and scout your way in and figure that out. So look there's one we figured out, a couple spots for the rut. Postseason sign is a snapshot in time, not a year-round blueprint. It does not tell you what is going on all year long. It just doesn't. My job and a hunter's job that want to be mobile and want to really dive into this type of hunting is, your job is to date the sign, when it was made, why it was made there, and what was happening at that time. It's where, if you do enough research, and there's so many online things that you could look up and things like why is there a cluster of rubs at this certain area, and you can look at the map and like, oh, maybe there's some does in there, and like that's where a lot of observation sets will tell you a lot of things, for the next year. And you're going to have to do that. You're going to have going into an area blind, you're going to have to look at on their way in. You got your stand on your back, your bow in your hand, or whatever you're hunting with, and you're going to have to decipher that sign and say, all right, this was made, there's a scrape here and it's not fresh, it's from a month ago or even last year, the rub too, that's not going to warrant a hunt. So that's not telling me these deer are here now. So what warrants a hunt would be me going in and me kind of knowing an area a little bit, because from cyber scouting, maybe doing a little boots on the ground scouting, maybe last year or before that. I know the terrain in there. I know what kind of food's around there, if it's oaks or locust pods or whatever there is, or ag country or whatever. That's going to decipher whether it warrants a hunt. You go in there and find super fresh rubs where the tree is oozing sap. Well, I'm going to keep going and trying to find a spot where I can climb up and do an observation sit. I mean, I'm not saying to hunt one rub, the first rub that you actually come up and find. That's just a piece of the puzzle where, all right, why was that rub there? Why is he making that? He come in here and rubbed that last night, so why is that? So you keep going a little bit, push and push, and you got to be that aggressive. And then you find more. You find this or big trail coming after this or this and that. All right, that's warranting a hunt. Not one big oozing rub of sap rub warrants a hunt. It just doesn't. You need more than that to warrant a hunt or a sit. That rub with a giant beat up trail that looked like cattle coming through there, or at a cross section where 2 or 3 trails come together at a thicket or a funnel or something like that. So that's why I've always said before in a lot of my stuff that I talk about, guys will go into wide open areas and find this giant rub where the rub is as round as me. I'm a big dude. And it's way up on my chest, and that's a big buck, but it's in a wide open area, and that's the only rub around. And they sit there and they climb up in a tree and they hunt it for 3 days straight and not see one deer. Well, dude, he's there when you're not at 3 a.m. making that. That's why. He knows he can't go through there during the daylight hours. So remember that. Sheds is it's fun. I'm not a big shed guy, but I'll tell you, man, from my experience, most of the sheds that I've found are usually right around the bedding or main food sources, usually around the bedding because it's thick. Their ore travel corridor. It could be anywhere, but most of the sheds that I myself find throughout postseason are usually, the majority of them are usually by bedding because they're coming out of thick stuff. They get caught, or whatever, and they get tugged off. So sheds are late season evidence that they were there. They're not year-round proof. So most shed locations indicate winter survival zones tied to food and cover, not where bucks live all year. Honestly, postseason scouting to me is about a smarter starting point for next year, not locking in stand locations. Use the information to ask better questions about timing, pressure, and seasonal movement to others. And listen, man, there's nothing wrong with asking people online and stuff like that questions. I wouldn't give my locations out, but I would say, hey, I got this going on or that going on, because there are so many people that there's a lot of trolls, they're bullshitters. But I'll tell you, there's a lot of people out there that will help you decipher how to learn, how to read sign better, and how to become a better. All right. I myself, what you probably need for postseason scouting, excuse me, I keep have to cut these. I have to get better, the little things that go on your earbuds. I hate earbuds because they keep falling out, but I love the microphones. But I know it's off topic, but I have to find better. The little plastic pieces go in there, help it hold in your ear, because these earbuds, they fall out constantly for me. They're a pain in the butt. But anyway, What I carry postseason scouting, I carry a pack. It's very light. It's a XOP Striker pack. It's like 79 bucks. I love it. I have three of them. Well, excuse me. I used to have three of them. I sold one of them. Actually gave one to my daughter, and now I have two of them. So that's how much I like the pack. I'm telling you, I carry the basic things. I might carry a knife, clippers, my phone, of course, portable phone charger, which, they're like 20 bucks. Water, trail tack. I do carry some trail tacks to mark a tree, maybe rail at the bottom of a tree that I want to hunt, because honestly, I don't care what app you use. They're a little off, and look exact locations when going in the morning, especially. A compass, of course. I think everybody should learn how to use a compass. I don't care who you are. If you want to go in the woods, you should learn how to use a compass. And a small snack, like an energy bar or granola bar or something like that. I, myself, usually carry a bar, some kind of energy bar or protein bar, or I chew the hell out of sunflower seeds. So if I need more than that, I'm probably overthinking stuff. That is about it. My closing is, don't chase fresh sign this time of year. Study it, date it, understand why it happened. Post-season scouting rewards patience and curiosity. It really does. From bars to bucks, we out and about. Until the next sit. Peace!